to Box Box Bitch, the unapologetically bold female F1 podcast, where we break down race weekends, spill the paddock tea, and call it how we see it. This week, we're heading to the legendary Monza Grand Prix, the home of the Tifosi, Ferrari fever, and some of the fastest racing on the calendar. We'll get you up to speed on everything you need to know, the history that makes Monza one of the crown jewels of F1, the high-speed, low-downforce setup that defines the Temple of Speed, and which drivers and teams could shine or struggle under the Italian sun. And of course, we'll talk storylines off the track too, because what's F1 without a little drama? So buckle up, because Monza isn't just another race, it's a full-on spectacle, and we're about to dive right in. Before we dive into this year's action, we have to talk about why Monza isn't just another stop on the calendar. It's a legend in itself. Built in 1922, Monza is one of the oldest purpose-built racetracks in the world and has hosted more Formula One Grand Prix than any other circuit. Known as the Temple of Speed, it's where records are shattered, rivalries are born, and the Tifosi create an atmosphere unlike anywhere else in the sport. From iconic victories to shocking upsets and heartbreaking tragedies, Monza's history is woven into the DNA of Formula One. So let's take a lap back in time and revisit the moments that made Monza the myth it is today. Now, you can't talk about Monza without talking about the legends who have conquered it. At the very top of the list, we have the two giants of Formula One, Michael Schumacher and Lewis Hamilton. Both have 5 wins here, with Schumacher delivering some of Ferrari's most iconic moments in front of the Tifosi, and Hamilton proving time and time again that he knows exactly how to master the Temple of Speed. Right behind them is Nelson Piquet, a 4-time winner who dominated in the 80s. Then you've got a 3-time club, names like Alberto Ascari and Juan Manuel Fangio, pioneers of the sport. Sterling Moss and Ronnie Peterson, who lit up the 50s and 70s, and of course modern stars like Alan Prost, Rubens Barrichello and Sebastian Vettel, each taking 3 wins of their own. And let's not forget today's generation. Charles Leclerc has already carved his name in Monza history with 2 wins, including a sensational victory last year in 2024. A bold one-stop strategy that sent the Tifosi wild. Max Verstappen is close behind with back-to-back wins in 2022 and 2023, proving that the Red Bull speed works even at the Temple of Speed. If we're talking recent standouts, Monza 2024 gave us an incredible race. Leclerc's win for Ferrari was the headline, but Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris in the McLaren showed serious pace. Norris even snatched pole and fastest lap. Carlos Sainz Jr. fought hard in 4th in what was his farewell Monza in red. And Hamilton, ever the fighter, brought his Mercedes home in 5th. So whether it's legends of the past or stars of the present, Monza has always been a stage for A-list performances. And the names who win here are etched in Formula One history forever. When we talk about Monza, we're talking about a circuit that has given us some of the most unforgettable moments in Formula One history. The Temple of Speed isn't just about fast laps, it's about drama, triumph, heartbreak, and history being made. Let's start with the numbers. In 1971, Monza gave us the closest finish in F1 history. Peter Gethin won by just 0.01 seconds, with the top 5 cars separated by only 0.61 seconds. That record still stands today. Add to that the insane 43 lead changes in 1965, Jackie Stewart's win, and a record-breaking speeds like Michael Schumacher's 2003 fastest average race pace, or Lewis Hamilton's blistering 264 kilometers an hour qualifying lap in 2020. Monza is built for records. But it's not all stats, it's the emotion that makes Monza special. Who could forget 1988, just a month after Enzo Ferrari's death, when Gerhard Berger and Michele Alboreto pulled off a Ferrari 1-2, ending McLaren's dominance that season. Or 1996, when Michael Schumacher finally delivered Ferrari a Monza win after 7 long years and won over the Tifosi for good. Then there's the underdog fairy tales. Sebastian Vettel's first ever win in 2008 at a rain-soaked Monza with Toro Rosso, the youngest winner at the time. Pierre Gasly's shock victory in 2020 for AlphaTauri, breaking the stranglehold of Mercedes, Ferrari and Red Bull. And of course, Daniel Ricciardo's McLaren comeback in 2021, delivering the team's first win since 2012 with a 1-2 finish. Ferrari's heroes also shine here. Charles Leclerc's emotional 2019 win, his first at Monza, sent the crowd into absolute chaos, and he did it again in 2024, sealing his second Monza victory with a gutsy one-stop strategy. But Monza has also had its tragedies. The death of Alberto Ascari in 1955, Wolfgang von Trips and 12 spectators in 1961, and Ronnie Peterson in 1978 left scars on the sport. Over time, the circuit has been adapted, chicanes were added, corners reshaped, and gravel replaced with asphalt, but those losses are forever part of Monza's story. Through it all, Monza remains the jewel of the calendar, a place where records are broken, legends are crowned, and the Tifosi remind us why passion is at the heart of Formula One. Alright, let's break down the track itself, because Monza isn't just any circuit. It's a technical balancing act disguised as flat-out speed. Officially, the Autodromo Nazionale Monza. It's all about low downforce, low drag setups. Teams trim the wings to razor-thin levels to maximise top speed, and that makes braking stability and traction out of the slower corners absolutely critical. The lap begins with the Rettifilo straight, where cars hit over 340 kilometers an hour before hammering the brakes for the Variante di Rettifilo. It's the heaviest braking zone of the lap, from top speed down to about 70 kilometers an hour. You'll see lockups, dive bombs, and plenty of lap one chaos here. Precision is key because a poor exit kills your momentum all the way through Curva Grande. Next up, the Variante della Roggia. This second chicane is slightly faster but still brutal on the brakes. Curb usage is massive here. The cars ride them aggressively to straighten the line, but get it wrong and you're off into the gravel. Then it's into the Lesmos. Don't let the medium speed profile fool you. These right-handers are critical. The first Lesmo requires a sharp late turn in with strong rear grip, while the second is all about throttle discipline. A good launch out of Lesmo 2 can mean gaining or losing tenths all the way down the Serragilo straight. That leads into Variante Ascari, a technical triple apex left-right-left. It's one of the most demanding corners on the calendar because the car is constantly loaded and the curbs are unforgiving. Drivers needs a stable rear end here. Any snap of oversteer ruins your line and kills straight line speed heading onto the back straight. Finally, the legendary Curva Alboreto, the corner we all know as the Parabolica. It's a long 180-degree right-hander where entry speed is massive, around 220 kilometers an hour, and maintaining minimum speed through the apex is vital. Too much understeer and you'll drift wide onto the asphalt runoff. Too cautious and you'll compromise your launch onto the pit straight. Historically, Monza was even faster. In its early years, the layout included high-banked oval sections, still visible today, like relics of a different era. But as the car speeds climbed, fatal crashes in the 60s and 70s forced changes. That's when chicanes were introduced. The Lesmos were tightened, and in 2021, the Parabolica was officially renamed Curva Alboreto, in honour of Michele Alboreto. Even with these changes, Monza remains the ultimate low downforce challenge. Teams walk a fine line, skinny wings for speed on the straights versus enough grip to survive the chicanes. It's a test of power units, brake stability, traction and driver precision, and that's why it's still the temple of speed. Let's get into the strategic chess game that is the race day at Monza. On the surface, it looks simple, long straights, flat out pace, but strategy here is actually one of the most fascinating of the year. The first thing to know, pit stops are brutally expensive. With one of the longest pit lanes in Formula One, combined with Monza's ultra-high average lap speed, a stop here costs upwards of 25 seconds relative to the field. That's why it is almost always a one-stop race. Two stops are technically possible, but unless there's a safety car, it's almost always too costly. So let's talk tyre options. The baseline strategy is medium to hard. Start on the medium compound, pit somewhere around lap 20 to 26, and run the hards to the red flag. It's stable, predictable, and minimises risk. The flip side is hard to medium, starting on hards to extend the first stint, usually aiming for a pit window between laps 26 and 32. This is the strategy of choice for drivers starting outside the top 10 who want to run long, stay out of traffic, and hope to gain track position while the others pit earlier. Now, the outlier is the soft compound. Softs give you immediate grip, a rocket start off the line, and strong pace in the opening laps, which is crucial if you're starting on the dirty side of the grid. But the downside, degradation. Softs at Monza usually only last 14 to 20 laps before they fall off a cliff. That means if you're open on softs, you're committing to a very long second stints on the hard. The only way to make it work is either with safety car intervention or by flipping the strategy late. For example, medium to soft setup if you can stretch that first stint to around lap 30. But no matter the tyre, Monza is all about managing degradation on the rears. Those heavy braking zones at Rettifilo, Roggia and Ascari dump massive energy into the tyres, and the traction zones on the corner exits absolutely punish the rear rubber. If the track temperature is high, degradation spikes, and suddenly even a one stop can become a knife edge balancing act. Then there's the overtaking picture. You'd assume Monza's long straights guarantee easy passes, but in reality, it's more complicated. With ultra-low downforce setups, the cars punch such small holes in the air that DRS isn't as powerful here as it is at tracks like Baku and Spa. That makes track position king. Most moves come into Variante del Rettifilo at the end of the main straight, where drivers brake from 340 kilometers an hour down to around 70. But with narrow margins, minimal runoff, and high curbs, it's one of the riskiest places on the calendars to throw a move. The final wild card is the safety car. History tells us it's not uncommon at Monza, and when it happens, it completely reshapes the race. A mid-race safety car slashes the pit delta dramatically, making a two-stop suddenly viable. That's when the teams might roll the dice, bolt on a fresh set of softs or mediums, and unleash their drivers for a late race sprint. It's high risk, high reward, but it's also exactly how races like 2020, when Pierre Gasly won, came alive. We just saw last year in 2024 how strategy can define Monza. Charles Leclerc's victory came from executing a near perfect one stop. Balancing entire life against relentless pressure, it was proof once again at the Temple of Speed, the race is often won not just on raw pace, but on discipline, tyre conversion, and seizing the smallest strategic openings when they appear. And that's a wrap on the Monza Grand Prix deep dive. From the legends who conquered the Temple of Speed to the iconic moments that shaped its legacy, the technical demands of the circuit, and the strategy games that make race day so unpredictable, Monza never fails to deliver. As always, the Tifosi will bring the passion, the track will bring the speed, and the drivers will bring the drama. All that's left is to see who adds their name to the Monza's incredible history this year. Thanks for tuning in to Box Bitch, your unapologetically bold take on Formula One. Don't forget to hit follow, share the episode with your fellow F1 fans, and join us next time as we break down all the action from the race weekend. Until then, keep it fast, keep it fierce, and as always, Box Bitch.